Good afternoon, traders. Welcome to Tuesday, December 17th. My name is Daniel, and I'm with VantagePoint AI, and we're going to get started here with a little pre-Fed decision, pre-FOMC meeting analysis. In just a moment, we should be able to let me just confirm everything is working from a technological standpoint, and you can hear me and you can see my screen okay. So we've got some people getting joined up right now, so that's fantastic. If you're here, welcome. Pop into the live chat and let me know you're here and you can see things okay and everything is working on your side. All right, perfect. Markets are closing up. Got that final bell and we're ready to get going. Hey, Peter, thank you. It looks like everything is working on your side. That's fantastic. Hopefully everybody's had a good day and a good week so far. I can't believe we are coming up to the end of the year already. I mean, Christmas is, what, 8 days away or something like that. I'm already doing things that have a 2025 date on them and have been for some time. So certainly 2024 certainly went very, very quickly for me. I don't know about you, but thank you for being here. Obviously, there's a big decision on interest rates coming up this week. FOMC notes and information will be out tomorrow. A lot of people are wondering what to expect. We're going to dig into what the artificial intelligence is saying about the current market conditions. We're going to check back in on the Magnificent Seven and see how things are looking there. We're going to do some scanning today. So we find some opportunities that the artificial intelligence is saying, hey, right now ahead of Fed decision, there's some bullishness in these stocks. So whatever it is you're here for, I think one of those topics will cover the information that you need. I use the artificial intelligence available in the VantagePoint trading software, and that's where we're going to spend all of our time today. If you are part of the VantagePoint family and you're a user of the software, I'd love to hear from you in the chat box. So if you can, just pop over there and let me know that you're in the session and you're ready to go. I see Mental Clarity and Bruce and Mojo. Everything is good, and they're in the meeting. So let me just share my screen, and I'm going to bring up the VantagePoint software and do some quick analysis on the Magnificent Seven. There we go. If you look over my shoulder, you should see Meta Platforms right now on the screen, ready to dig into some of the analysis on Meta Platforms. Not sure if anybody in this session is trading Meta or interested in trading Meta, but I can tell you that VantagePoint had a really, really great forecast here recently on November 26th. Now, for those of you that subscribe to VantagePoint AI YouTube channel, you probably saw the live from last week. Maybe you saw it on recording. Maybe you saw it live. I don't know. But we walked through the Magnificent Seven. So I thought it'd be a good idea just to check back in into the material, if you will, to check back in on what the Magnificent Seven are saying and what they've said since then based on the artificial intelligence. So I'm just looking at a month of Meta here, and we had our session last time we talked on December 4th. And that was the day right here in the afternoon, and we talked about how there was bullishness in Meta. And when I say bullishness, what I mean is Meta was indicating that there was some more strength in price. Let me get my pen really quick, and I'll show you what I mean. All right, there we go. Oh, I just lost it again. All right, so here we go. This was December 4th. This was the day that we talked. If you were in that live session, this is the day we went over the details. And what I was looking at on that day specifically was what the artificial intelligence was saying about Meta. And I don't know what happened with my pen, but apparently I've got a little funky thing going on here. Let's see if I can get it to turn off. Oh, I can't get my pen to turn off, so bear with me for a second. And I might have to just restart it. Not my computer, but my pen. We don't want to do a computer restart now. Holy cow, you know what that would be like. All right, let's try that again. I have my arrow back, so that works. All right, so what I'm saying is right here on December 4th, we had the conversation. What we were seeing was the blue line above the gray line and the shaded area was green. That's where the artificial intelligence and VantagePoint was saying that this trend was expected to move higher. right here in the middle of your screen at the end of the day that day. That would have been the data that we downloaded and we were able to take a look at from a forecasting standpoint. You can see from that point forward, let's look at the rest of it. The neural index was green as well, and we had some bullish momentum leading into that with a little bit of tailing off of that bullish momentum. What you can see from that point on is we certainly, in fact, got some more bullishness. As a matter of fact, this trend in Meta, based on what the AI was saying, was expected to move higher over the next 1, 2, 3 days, and it certainly did. And even up to the close yesterday, what we saw from a Meta performance was an increase in value of 1.18%. Now today, I think Meta closed at 619, right? So I can go in and I'm just going to adjust this line so we can get a good sense of where it is. 619.44. All right. So from an increase standpoint, it's about 1/3 of a percentage point. There's a lot of, on the right-hand side of the chart, there's a lot of volatility and consolidation happening with Meta. The AI, the blue line, is pushing sideways across my screen. What that means is leading into the Fed decision, there's some consolidation in Meta and an expected sideways move. Yet there's still gains still left in that trend, and that sideways move says we need to be on the lookout for more consolidation. Now, VantagePoint predicted today at 6:30 last night, this information was updated, and said that we could see a low potentially of 619.23. Why that's important is because that information allows you to protect your downside. Now, we do have some support down here at the close or the low of the day on 12/13. That's at 616.89. So I can expect Meta to come down to the predicted low and end up somewhere around where VantagePoint was predicting a low or a close for the day. And you can see that's basically where it went. But since the last time we talked in this session, we had a little bit of bullishness still left in that. And the artificial intelligence gave us a good indication. Now here is NVIDIA. Is anybody in here still holding NVIDIA from a swing trading standpoint? I don't mean from a long-term investment standpoint, but I mean from a swing trading standpoint, something you hold for a couple of days to a couple of weeks, maybe a month or two. And the reason I'm asking that question is because the artificial intelligence indicated on December 10th that there was bearishness, enough bearishness in price of NVIDIA that we were expecting a downtrend to take over. See, what VantagePoint does, and why I use it in case you're not a user of the software, is it indicates points at which the trend is expected to reverse over the next couple of days. Well, we certainly got that information. We can see we got a major reversal from that trend from that next day on. But the key here is that we got confirmation from all of the indicators. I'm going to drop a line on this day where the crossover happened and see that the shaded area was red and the blue line crossed below, saying that NVIDIA was expected to move lower. The neural index was red. Predictive differences, which are indicating predictive momentum, are saying that there was bearish momentum expected. Hey, Denny, nice to see you, my friend. Glad you're here. VantagePoint is saying ahead of the Fed decision, actually last week, that there was certainly some bearishness moving in NVIDIA. And we know that NVIDIA was expected to be lower going into today. Now, what that also means is since the last time we talked, NVIDIA price moved bearishly when we had some bullishness on the horizon. So at this point, the artificial intelligence is 1-for-1 on the Magnificent Seven just since December 4th when we had our last live. Now moving on to Amazon. Here's the last month of the Amazon chart. And the reason I'm moving through these is because I want everybody on our live to understand how to interpret the artificial intelligence before we do some scanning and dig into some forecasts right now. Right here on this date, November 27th, Amazon was forecasted to move higher. I know that because reading the artificial intelligence, I've got a blue line that is crossed above that gray line indicating bullishness. I've got a neural index that's indicating bullish strength. And I've got momentum creating higher lows in momentum. If I was to connect these, I can see that there's certainly some higher lows. If I just draw some trend lines, I can see that this is momentum that is moving higher. All right. Now, we got some strength. We got a nice strong push. And again, I'm going to locate December 4th when we talked. From that crossover, which indicated bullish momentum and bullish trend over the next few days, we got a nice move higher of about 6%. Well, since we had that conversation to the close yesterday, Amazon has moved up 6.7% since we did our live together. That means we've got an increase, 5 contracts, hypothetical gains here of $7,313. If you're doing options, take off your premium. That's a nice, strong $5,000 move. Now, looking at the current markets, let me see if I can pull up Amazon. 231.15. So let's put that bad boy right on the button and say from here, 231.15. That's the close today. So we've got a 5.91% gain in 9 trading days on Amazon since I indicated that there was bullishness in that trend off of the forecast that we had. Here is Apple. Now, Apple had a really nice trend going on from way earlier. I mean, we can see that the crossover happened on November 13th. The neural index agreed, and the predictive differences, 2 of the 3 of them had bullish momentum building in. So we had about an 80% bullish reading from the artificial intelligence on November 13th, leading into our live last week. Here we go. This is the 4th. And from there until the close yesterday, we've got bullishness of 3.35% in the last 9 trading days. Now, the analysis that we did on that day, as a group, I said we had bullishness. The blue line crossed above. The neural index was green, and the predictive differences were moving higher, indicating some more strength for Apple. Now, it's been 2 weeks, and we can see that we got definitely some more strength from Apple. The artificial intelligence nailed that one as well. Where are we at? 253.48. Let's see, 253.48. Just dropping that line so I can see what this hypothetical gain looks like up to the close that just happened a few minutes ago. 4.38%. So right now we've got 3 winners and 1 incorrect forecast from the artificial intelligence in the last 2 weeks. So let's keep on going through the Magnificent 7. Here is Microsoft. Microsoft was indicated to go bullishly on November 26th, right? We talked on December 4th. Here we go. What we analyzed on that day was bullishness from the crossover. And in case anybody is wondering, if you're not a VantagePoint user, let me explain what I mean by bullishness from the crossover. This is a blue line that is called a predicted moving average. And when it's above the gray line, you get a shaded area that's green, indicating bullishness over the next couple of days trend expectation. Down here in the middle is the neural index. It's indicating strength or weakness. Green indicates short-term strength. Red indicates short-term weakness. And we had strength on that day as well. And then these oscillators at the bottom are predicted momentum indicators that have the ability to predict 1, 2, and 3 days in advance. So by looking at this on that day, what I said was we're expecting more bullishness in Microsoft, and we certainly got that bullishness right here in Microsoft. Here's the close yesterday, and that's a nice move with 3.14% in the last 8 trading days here. Well, let's take it a step further, right, and just check it. I don't have Microsoft pulled up here. Let me see if I can find it. 454.46. Obviously, these markets just closed. 454.46. We got that on the mark. That is, in the last 2 weeks, 3.8% gain on Microsoft. And if you missed the beginning of this session, what I said was we're going to check back on the Magnificent 7 and see how the artificial intelligence has performed since the last time we did a YouTube live 2 weeks ago and now. And so far, we've got 4 accurate predictions of more bullishness expected on the 4th, and we've gotten that bullishness up into the close today. And 1 inaccurate one. There was bullishness expected on NVIDIA, but NVIDIA pulled back the other way. Tesla. Man, Tesla has been a really, really great mover. VantagePoint forecasted Tesla up and finding a bottom back on 1024. We can see that bullishness was forecasted at 258. Well, Tesla right now is, I didn't look at where it closed today, but as of the close yesterday, up at 462. Nonetheless, let's talk about what it's done since we chatted last time. 12.4, we had bullishness. And if anybody wants to check that video, by the way, subscribe to VantagePoint AI's channel. Go into the videos section, click on the link that says lives, and it's got a view from my VantagePoint, and all the recorded live sessions are in there. you can certainly tap back into that and take a look at what the analysis was on that day and compare it to where we are now. Tesla up 28% in the last 2 weeks. And we can go take a look at where it's at right now and where it closed today at 479.86. All right. Let's program that into our line, 479.86. All right, 33%. There we go, VantagePoint. That's what I'm talking about. When these kind of moves aren't going to happen all the time. This is an absolute home run from the beginning of the Tesla trend till now. But just in the last 2 weeks, the artificial intelligence is able to identify bullishness, and that's exactly what we got. Here is the last of the 7. Now, when we talked, this is interesting. Look at this. When we talked right there, 12.3, 12.4. That was the day we had the conversation off the forecast on 12.3. We had a fresh crossover. I like to call them fresh crossovers. If you've done any training with me in VantagePoint University, then you know that when I'm talking about a blue line going from below to above the gray line and it goes from red to green, that's fresh. Fresh as it gets. Saying that there was bullishness expected over the next few days. We got bullishness in strength and price. We got bullishness in momentum. And we got bullishness in the trend, right? There's 3 days. There's 4 or 5. And you can see up till the close yesterday, VantagePoint forecasted a fresh reversal in Google. And it's up 14.9% up to yesterday's close. I'm going to go look at today's close and see where we closed at. Oh, close 195.42. All right, let's pop that right in. 195.42. And the reason I'm doing this is because I really want to assess with everybody here live, based on what we talked about on the 4th, was the artificial intelligence correct? Was the artificial intelligence accurate? And if it was or wasn't, what is the potential gain or loss in these hypothetical examples we're walking through here? These are real forecasts on real trends. Now, some of you may have gotten in at the open. Some of you may have gotten in somewhere different than the open. Some of you may have waited a couple of days, which I don't know why. But either way, we had, of the 7, we have six that were accurate and 1 that I would consider inaccurate, which gives us an 85.71% accuracy just on the Magnificent 7 over the forecast of the last 2 weeks, which is great. You know, we can get up to 87.4%. So in being able to forecast those stocks accurately, we got a high accuracy. But more importantly, let's talk numbers, right? I'm just going to look at the percentage here. I'm just looking at the percentage. Meta, you know, a lot of traders are trading options on Meta. A lot of different ways to slice it. But I really want to understand, because I haven't done this yet to really figure out. But 0.35% plus, we lost 10.37%. So we're going to do a minus 10.37%. We're going to go to Amazon, picked up 5.91%, okay, plus 5.91%. Apple, just bear with me because I think this is valuable, 4.38% plus 4.38%, plus Microsoft, 3.8%, 3.8% gain. Tesla predicted an uptrend, and we got a 33% gain, so plus 33.03 roughly here. Alphabet, 14.21% plus a 14.21%. So all told, if we add up the winners, subtract the losers, it's a 51% gain off of the artificial intelligence forecast that we all did live together in these examples that I'm talking about just since we talked 2 weeks ago. So when I stop and think about that, and I say, all right, we got an 85% accuracy in which stocks went up when the AI said they were expected to go up. That's pretty darn good. But we got a 55 or plus 50% gain on those stocks when adding up the results. No matter how you slice it, valuable information. And I guess it pays to subscribe and be here in the lives, because those are some monster moves that have done very, very well over the last couple of weeks, and the artificial intelligence, I have to say, nailed it. So if you're looking at that and you're part of the VantagePoint family, great job. Great job. Hopefully you're able to use that information. If you aren't part of the VantagePoint family, but you were here in the live. Hopefully you're seeing the difference that VantagePoint can make from a trading and an analysis standpoint. And why I believe it's so powerful is right here. Look, just for a quick second before we dive into the current market forecasts, here is what VantagePoint is analyzing to project Google, right? By Alphabet. It's looking at the euro and gold and Synaptics and biotech. UPS is in there, the Japanese yen. The artificial intelligence has analyzed over 10,000 markets around the world to figure out what is actually impacting the share price of Google. It's called intermarket analysis and it's patented. This is why the accuracy and the results are so powerful, because this is all we have been doing since 1991. It's a patented artificial intelligence process, and I just love how it works, which is why I love doing these videos so we can dig into the details. So if you have a question, if you have questions, or there's something that you want to dig into, by all means, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can always go to VantagePointForecast.com and we can dig into those questions, or you can drop a question or a ticker in the chat and we can do analysis here together as a group. But right now, I do see a question about, do you have futures market analysis? Yes, scalping strategy. We have 71 individual futures markets that are forecasted in the software. As a matter of fact, we can go look at the NQ if you want to look at the NQ right now, and I can pull it up as a futures market, and we can dig into the details of the NQ. If we just look at the last month of the NQ, here's what we saw. November 25th, we had a forecast of bullishness expected in the NQ. The blue line was below, crossing above, and on the 26th, we got a very clear move to the upside with a neural index green and the predictive differences having some bullishness. We had about a 60-70% bullishness. And in case you're wondering why I'm saying 67% or 60 to 70% bullishness, I'm looking at these indicators and I'm using them to get an AI sentiment of what it's saying about the NQ. VantagePoint is indicating bullishness back here on November 26th by looking at this blue line saying this trend is expected to move higher. The first time I got that bullish forecast was right here on the 25th. So it moved higher the next day. But more importantly, I also got agreement from these other indicators down here. This is the neural index. So scalping strategy, you can see that those indicators are read exactly the same, whether you're looking at a stock, a Forex pair. Heck, we'll look at Bitcoin today. We'll even do a scan and look for some other opportunities, but you read the indicators the same. For bullishness, I need the blue line above the gray line, I need the neural index green, and I need the predictive differences indicating bullishness to the upside. How do I indicate that? Well, I like to look at 5 days back of that oscillator and see if I've got a line that is pointed up, a line that's pointed sideways, or a line that's pointed down. I'm looking for higher lows or lower highs. The 60% says, well, I got the blue line crossing bullishly. That's one bullish indicator. I got the neural index saying bullish as well. That is a second bullish indicator. I've got my 1 day predicted momentum sideways. All right, that's not a bullish one, but I've got bullishness on my 2 day predicted momentum. And then I've got bearishness on my 3 day momentum. So I have 3 bullish indicators, one consolidated and one bearish. So that's telling me I got about a 60% bullish reading on that day. I go to the next day, that ups. Now my AI sentiment goes up. Why? Because my short-term momentum indicator turned up and it's got bullishness now. Now we're up in that 70% range. Either way, VantagePoint was saying on the NQ that there was bullishness on the upside here. And all the way up until the close of yesterday. This is yesterday's close, by the way, in case you're wondering. VantagePoint said that there was more bullishness expected today on the NQ. VantagePoint was saying that there was some bullish momentum expected and bullish strength from the neural index. So all of my predictive indicators said, yep, there is certainly bullishness expected there. I even, if you're not familiar with VantagePoint, look over here on the right-hand side of my chart. This line right here, this bar that looks like a candle, but it's kind of got a gradient on the top and a bottom. VantagePoint predicts the high and the low every single day for every asset in the software. And if you follow my cursor to the left-hand side of the screen, it gives you the predicted high point, the midpoint, the low, and the range. So what VantagePoint was saying that we could see the NQ up at 22,525 potentially today, right? Now, I don't think it got that high, but I think it got up to 522,450 or somewhere in that range. So we had a really strong move to the upside. And what VantagePoint is saying is that there is still bullishness in the NQ ahead of the Fed decision, ahead of the interest rate conversation tomorrow. That's what the artificial intelligence is saying. Now, one word of caution, right? I'm not providing trading advice just from a purely educational standpoint. Tomorrow's a major fundamental event. Fundamental impacts on the market can cause a lot of funky things. So some of you may not even be interested in being involved in the market tomorrow. Others of you are looking to say, well, what's the AI saying tomorrow? And I want to play one side or the other. Other people are just, watching, observing. But when I look at this, the artificial intelligence is convincing me that we're expecting bullishness ahead of that rate decision, ahead of that conversation, right? Tim, I see your question. How is the company map pulled up? If you right-click on the chart, and I assume you have the software, and I go into market details, Tim, everybody that has the software can do this. This little window opens up, all right? And one of those things in the window says intermarkets. And that's how it shows you that little, I don't know, I guess it's a scatter plot or a diagram that shows you what is influencing the NASDAQ. And you can see UPS has no impact on the NASDAQ because it is nowhere in these 30 markets. For every asset, Tim, the software is figuring out which top 31 markets are influencing that selection. You're very welcome, sir. Thank you for the question. Scalping strategy, there's the NQ. There's the analysis on the NQ based on the VantagePoint default indicators right out of the box. And by the way, every indicator that I'm looking at, everybody in VantagePoint has, right? I'm not looking at any special indicators or any add-ons. We're looking right out of the box, all right? Here's Bitcoin. Now, I got to tell you, if you're not a VantagePoint user, but you're interested in Bitcoin, you got to see this. Look at your screen. The blue line was below and crossed above right there on October 13th on Bitcoin. That's after this moment of consolidation, after this moment of bearishness. This is where the AI that is accurate up to 87.4% says, all right, the price based on what's driving Bitcoin is expected to rise over the next few days. The neural index can go up to 3 days in the future, okay? The neural index, there you go, green, indicating bullishness, all right? The predictive differences at the bottom, they're all creating higher lows. You can see that going into that day. If I go back 5 days going into that day, they are all creating higher lows, saying that there is momentum increasing in Bitcoin. Now from there, all I have to do, if I decide I want to take a position on Bitcoin, all I have to do is make sure the blue line doesn't cross back below the gray line. Touching is okay. That's indicating consolidation. As long as that blue line doesn't cross below, and I'm on my long-term forecast right now in Bitcoin that's predicting the trend 3 days in the future. As long as that's the case, I can continue riding that trend, right? That trend had a lot of bullishness right here in the middle, and then there was some consolidation. A big push higher, and look right here. November 23rd, 24th, there was a big pullback that probably scared a lot of people out of Bitcoin. It went up to 99,000 and then pulled back, and people said, not going to get to 100. The artificial intelligence wasn't tricked. That blue line never crossed below on my long-term predicted information here. All the way up to today, VantagePoint said last night Bitcoin was expected to move higher. That's what it was saying about the market today. You can see it. Look on the right-hand side. Let me zoom in for you. 1 month. There we go. Look on the right-hand side of the screen. The blue line is above. The neural index is green. And the predictive differences are pointed up going into that day. VantagePoint even indicated that the high of the day would be lower than yesterday's high, but the low would be higher. That's what this little green shading on the predicted candle says. We can expect a higher low in Bitcoin today, and we can expect somewhat to a sideways to a little bit lower high, right? So what this is saying is VantagePoint was expecting for today, Bitcoin to trade between 107,694 and 104,352. Bitcoin traded between 105,699 and 108,388. which means it went up and it went higher than expected, only making those VantagePoint users that have this forecast and took advantage of it even more money to the upside. Whew. That's a substantial move that really has done well. Even if you're nervous about Bitcoin, having information like this, look, I'm going to change this. Let's say you put $10,000 into Bitcoin when that forecast said that that trend was expected to move higher. This gain right here, using that hypothetical example, is $6,861 in that trend, right? Now, I'm showing you this so that you can see, reading the indicators, whether it's a cryptocurrency, whether it's a futures market or a stock, it's the same. And the accuracy is still way up there. So that was another one that was some people were interested in. And then here's the SPY. For you traders that like to trade the SPY and take some options on the SPY, the S&P 500 on the long-term forecast leading into the Fed decision. Let's just take a look at the right-hand side of the chart. Here we go. I'm on my 3-day trend predictor, right? The blue line is above. By the way, and I say this probably over and over again, but it's wash, rinse, repeat. I don't have to think of a different way to analyze these charts. I'm looking for a couple of things. Is the blue line above the gray line? Yes, it's green and pointed up. Is the neural index green? Yes, the neural index is green, saying that there is strength in price. All right, predictive differences. Let's outline the predictive differences. I've got one that's certainly bullish, right? I've got one that's consolidated and one that is bearish. Okay, everybody should be able to see that because this one is pointed down, that one is pointed down, but the blue one over the last 5 days is pointed up. My predicted high is bullish, my predicted low is bullish. So what VantagePoint was saying going into today's market was that we were expecting bullishness in the S&P 500. That's important, right? That's important because that bullishness can give you the confidence to make a determination around what you want to do from a trend standpoint. Well, all in all, ahead of the Fed decision, VantagePoint is still seeing some bullishness. Now, remember, that's a major fundamental event, and I'm saying that because I'm not providing trading advice just from an educational standpoint. This is how you interpret the artificial intelligence information, all right? Great. Let me just take a look and see what we've got going on here. If there's any questions or any tickers. Hey, John, I just saw your note. Yeah, up 12% just today. A lot of great moves in the VantagePoint software. Another one that came out in our last session that I wanted to just show everybody was HiMax. One of our VantagePoint users in that video, Matt, said, hey, I found HiMax the other day because of VantagePoint. That was before all this. Remember, the conversation on HiMax happened right there on 12/4. The move in HiMax in the next 3 days, 4 days after that was a 60% just giant move. Even if you didn't take your profit off of that grand slam and still holding that position, that still comes to about a 30% move to the upside just in that trend alone. Now, when an underlying asset moves 60% like that, I'm not sure why you wouldn't take your profits off of that, but that's just my opinion. Either way, a monster move was identified early in advance, and the monster move I'm talking about was from the crossover up to the day we were talking. That was 13% already. But after we talked about it, then it just skyrocketed. I mean, it was just an incredible move to the upside. And one of our very own VantagePoint users found it, popped it in the chat in our live on December 4th. And you can see what happened since then. So really great moves. Another one that a lot of people have asked me about, I just want to pull up on the screen, is Broadcom, so we can do some quick analysis on Broadcom. Obviously, Broadcom has had a meteoric move as well in the last, we'll call it 2 weeks. The question people ask me all the time is, did VantagePoint forecast bullishness in Broadcom at that time? As a matter of fact, VantagePoint forecasted bullishness in Broadcom on December 2nd. When we talked on December 4th, it was indicating bullishness as well. It had a little bit of resistance it needed to deal with. It dealt with that resistance, and just like the AI predicted, it just moved drastically. So on top of that 55% that we were talking about from the Magnificent Seven, on top of HiMax's move that produced on the bottom side over 30%, and this Broadcom move of 45% since our last conversation, has us using the artificial intelligence in these simulated examples to be over 100% in market gains in the last 2 weeks. So if you stop and you think about that for a second, the analysis of these markets and this information is extremely valuable, but it's something that you have to really have discipline for. VantagePoint right now for Broadcom is saying ahead of the conversation, ahead of the Fed decision tomorrow, there is bullishness expected. VantagePoint forecast at a potential low, you can see right here, predicted low 247.76. Broadcom closed a little bit lower than that, right? Still a nice bullish move, still a lot of profits, still a major gain doing that analysis, just like we did going predicted moving average, neural index, predictive differences for momentum, and then the predicted high and predicted low. All right. Daniel, what's the difference between the crossover and the previous ones? The previous what? The crossover, you're talking about the predictions on the short term, medium term. So we have 3 predicted moving averages in the software. One predicted moving average is called the short term predicted moving average. That includes 1 day of predictive information. Let me just ask who was asking. Peter, thank you for the question. It includes 1 day of predictive information. And let me explain what that means. A simple moving average is done by adding up 10 days, dividing by 10, and plotting that on the chart. And every day you do that and you connect those dots. That's how a simple moving average is calculated. An exponential moving average is the same thing, a 10-day exponential. You add up 10 days, right? You put a little bit more weight on the more recent days. You divide by 10, you plot that on the chart. Every day you do that and it creates your line. In VantagePoint, we have a patented artificial intelligence process. We have a patented process that takes the output of what the intermarket analysis is doing and it predicts the price for the next 1, 2, and 3 days. So the blue line, the predicted moving average, Peter, in the software will take in that predictive days data. So if you're looking at a 10-day simple moving average and you knock off 3 of those days, and you add those 3 predicted days that the AI is figuring out to that formula, it completely transforms that formula from a lagging indicator to a leading indicator. Well, I have the ability to use a forecast that has 1 day in it. That's the short-term crossover. I have the ability to use a forecast that has 2 days of predictive data in it. That is the medium-term crossover. And then I have the ability to use a forecast that has 3 days of predicted data in it. That is a long-term crossover. It's about sensitivity. Some people want a very sensitive reading, a very sensitive forecast. Other people are willing to accept a little bit of drawdown. So we've got it very customizable. So hopefully, Peter, that was a good explanation of the differences. We even have a triple crossover in the software that uses 3 different predicted moving averages, and it creates a predicted moving average ribbon that allows you to also have some dynamic support and resistance built into it. So it's a very, very powerful indicator. You can see that, look right here. This is what I mean by dynamic support and resistance. You see how the candles, these are all predicted moving averages, all layered together in like a little ribbon. And every time this candle comes down and touches that really thick blue predicted moving average, it bounces, bounce, 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 and then it just takes off of it. That is a dynamic support level that price is paying attention to, and it's being drawn by the artificial intelligence. So probably a little bit more detail and information than you wanted, but hopefully that helps. All right, good. Let me see. I meant the difference between the crossover that took off and the previous ones that did not take off that occurred earlier. When you say take off, remember what the crossover is saying. And tell me a chart that you're asking about, because I'm not quite sure which chart you're asking about, but I can go through all of these crossovers. I mean, here's Google over the last 3 months, right? And we can do and say, look, here's a fresh crossover that took off. There's 1, 2, 3 days. Took off, and I just went crossover to crossover and said, look, on Google, every time VantagePoint said Google was expected to go higher over the last 3 months, what happened? All right, Peter, I think this is what you're getting at. Oh, well, we got a crossover we can't see back here. Let's back it up. There we go. Here's 3 months, VantagePoint indicating, hey, bullishness, you can ride that trend. I'm going to highlight all the green ones. We probably have a green one in here somewhere. Let me see, crossover to the upside. There we go. And crossover to the downside. That's a break even to a loser. So Peter, the difference is in the last 3 months on Google, there's been 4 bullish crossovers. 1, 2, 3 of them were winners that produced 14, 18, 20 plus percent to the upside. One of them was wrong that produced a 0.65% to the downside. That's a 75% accuracy reading in bullish crossovers with a positive 20% gain off of that. You said on AVGO, same exact thing, right? Let's go to our crossovers. Let's go to 3 months. However you want to slice it. Look, this is the day of the crossover. You can see it, right? That's the crossover right there. It's predicting the trend is expected to go up over the next 2 days. 1, 2. Is that an uptrend? It is. 2.5%. Then the blue line turns down, indicating, oh, there's some consolidation happening all the way down to the crossover to the downside. So the idea here is using the information to get the notification when it happens, because it's a 1, 2, or 3 day prediction. Not all of them are going to take off like this. Something moving like this, you've got to be in it before it takes off so that when it takes off, you can take advantage of that big move. So we're talking about being positioned to profit. And we can do that on whatever stocks you want to look at. You know, it's an open book. I'm happy to walk you through it step by step. But at the end of the day, the key here is knowing what stocks are expected to move higher and knowing when they're expected to make their move. If you can identify that, if you can do those two things better, you can find a dramatic change in results using the artificial intelligence. For you options traders, guess what? It's not just about up. There's also bearishness. Here's Tesla. Look, VantagePoint forecasted Tesla down 10.2. And it certainly went down, and there was this big gap down. Well, using that artificial intelligence gives you the ability to profit to the downside using the same information, just flipping the forecast, right? Good. Are you using the moving average as a prediction point by VantagePoint? That doesn't make sense. Jeremy, your question doesn't make sense, so if you could just clarify it a little bit for me, that would be good. What I'm looking for is a crossover, a crossing between the blue line, which is a predicted moving average, and a gray line, which is a simple moving average. If the blue line has a higher value than the gray line, then I'm expecting the simple moving average to move up. The only thing that's going to move that simple moving average up is if there is a bullish price move, right? So that crossover point is that inflection point. Hopefully that helps, right? Good, 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 good. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, there's a key to when the breakout's going to occur. You mean a big meteoric breakout? I mean, it's about being in position when those opportunities happen, right? It's like UAL. You never know which crossover is going to be the one that's going to be the big breakout move, right? You never know which one it is. But if you use your trade plan, combined with predictive technical analysis, you can put yourself in the position more often to profit when that breakout happens. Here's an example. United Airlines. We got a crossover that was confirmed right here on this day. Everything said, okay, here comes the move. Well, for 2 weeks, it didn't move very high. It certainly increased in value, but then we got this run up. At that point, from that crossover until this little run up, that's a nice move. That's a nice trend, a good 15%. But the blue line never crossed below. So from a swing trading standpoint, I want to trade the swing. I want to take advantage of that move higher. So until the artificial intelligence indicates in the software that this trend is expected to reverse for the next couple of days, I could ride that trend. Nobody knew that United Airlines was going to go up 127%, but the artificial intelligence knew it was going to start going up back in August, and it never changed course. You see what I did there? A little change course. No, I got to make myself laugh a little bit, you know, a little pun. It never changed course. That blue line never crossed below until the other day on December 12th, saying, hey, this is a profit-taking opportunity if you trade the swings. If you want to continue holding that, you can look at what the long-term outlook is for United Continental and see that right now on the right-hand side of the chart, the triple cross, that ribbon I was telling you about, is saying there is some consolidation happening. And that triple cross long, or that dark blue line, is trying to prop up price from a dynamic support standpoint, but price is trying to break below it. So this is a very cautionary tale for United Airlines. Profit opportunity? Absolutely. Could it bounce off of that? Yeah, until I get 2 candle closes below that dark blue line, I'm still thinking consolidation and a potential trend higher until I get those two candle closes lower. So Peter, I think that answers your question, is you never know which one's going to hockey stick up, but knowing which ones are expected to move higher and being in position when that opportunity presents itself is certainly a great place to be. Escape OS seems like an okay tool. Yeah, it's pretty okay. It's been forecasting since 1991. We put $10 million in the last 10 years alone into the ability to forecast this. A lot of people have been talking about artificial intelligence lately, and just think about that. For 35 years, all we've been doing is using this artificial intelligence to forecast the market. So I got about 4 or 5 minutes. Is there a ticker you want to take a look at? Is there some analysis you want to do? If there is, do me a favor. I'm going to get a drink. Pop it in the chat for me. Pop it in the chat if there's a ticker that we can look at in the software, or maybe you want a little more in-depth analysis on something. I'm happy to do it in the last couple of minutes that we have. Let me see if I missed any question. There was a question. Next day high low. How would you price that shoots up then retreats to your target price? How would you price? Verify for me what you're asking there, Mojo75. I don't understand your questions. If you can clarify it, I'm happy to. We did NVIDIA already. Just go ahead and rewind the tape and you can go take a look at the forecast for NVIDIA. We dug into that. We dug into the Qs, Escape Oasis. Again, just rewind it and watch the Q analysis just for time's sake. Let's go to PLTR. There we go. Here's Palantir. VantagePoint forecasted a move higher on Palantir on the swing trade on 11.5. But the long-term forecast on Palantir was long before that. We can scoot it back and see that using that triple cross indicator, that predicted moving average ribbon, we didn't have red. There's red. There we go. August 5th. Since August 5th, VantagePoint has been more bullish Palantir than anything else. And from that move till now, it's up 167% off of that predicted triple crossover, which is that predicted moving average. Let's zoom in on the current forecast right now on the short term and just see what ahead of the Fed meeting Palantir looks like it's expected to do now. Here we go. Here is the forecast. We got a blue line above. The neural index was green. The predictive differences. I got two of them with a little bit of bullishness and one of them with bearishness. I also have a predicted high and a predicted low saying bullish. So I got my AI sentiment reading, my AI sentiment index on this is about an 80% bullishness on Palantir using this information. Now there's a couple of things that I'm looking at here that I want to make sure that we are clear on, and that is verified support and resistance. I like to look at support and resistance, which are add-on indicators in the VantagePoint software, and see that we have this looks like a 52-week high. Let's see. We have a 52-week high up here at 80.94. So there is some bearish pressure on Palantir, but not any more bearish pressure than the momentum we have and the bullishness in price. Let's go see what volume looks like, which is available on everybody's platform. We do have an increasing bearish volume. So that means we are expecting bullishness in Palantir, but it's not like it's going to be rocket ship style bullishness. We're not going to the moon anytime soon. We are seeing some bullishness, and VantagePoint is expecting it to continue rising higher. But we still have that 80.94 in the back of our mind, because that's the 52-week high that it needs to get past before it can really take off. And you can see there's a good opportunity here from that standpoint. Euro USD, absolutely. It works really well for Forex. I see your question in there, real estate. Here's the Euro USD. A lot of different available forecasts out there, but you interpret the indicators just the same. And if we zoom in just to the last 3 weeks or so, you can see there was a fresh crossover to the downside. From a Forex trading standpoint, that's a quick 2-day trade, even to the close here. No matter how you slice it, there's a really great move on this. I love personally to use the short-term crossover on Forex. Why? It's a very quick moving market and these pops can happen very quickly. So when I see that blue line cross below, this is the entirety of this forecast and this trend right here going right now. And you can see it's about 17 pip winner to the downside if you held it for the entirety of that trend. But if you stop and you think about what's possible from an overall forecasting standpoint, You using this information to trade the Euro USD is going to be completely dependent on your trade style and what you do. Do you hold for a day? Do you hold for 2? Do you hold for 3? But yes, it works very, very well in the Forex market, as you can see. What else do we have? Cues for IntelliScan. Yes, thank you, Tim. Let's do a scan. The software itself has the ability to scan and look for some potential opportunities. I have a scan that's set up that I call bullish continuation. So ahead of the Fed announcement, I wanted to see what is available. What is the AI saying has some potential opportunities? Here's the top 3 based on what we're seeing in the VantagePoint software. SoFi, Peloton, and Corvo, right? A financial stock, a consumer cyclical stock, and a technology or 5G stock. American Express is also in here too, so we'll get a little bonus. So here are 4 stocks that I pulled right out of the scan, and you can see we got a fresh crossover on SoFi the other day. Looks like SoFi broke the 52-week high. Let's look. Yep, it broke the old 52-week high and set a new 52-week high. That indicates that there is some bullishness available if we can stay above 1704. We did not stay above 1704 on SoFi. That doesn't mean it's not expected to move higher. It just means it needs to deal with that resistance first. Well, how likely is it expected to beat that resistance? Well, let's zoom in on it. Let's take a look. Here's the crossover. Bullish. Neural index, bullish. Predictive differences. The momentum is predicted to be higher. Bullish volume building in SoFi and a predicted high and a predicted low. VantagePoint predicted SoFi to go up to 1709 today. The high was 1717, so good on you, VantagePoint. And you can see there is some bullishness ahead of the announcement tomorrow, forecasted in SoFi. Right here is Peloton. Zoom in on Peloton again. Let's look. Fresh crossover, not confirmed. This is important. Take a look at this. We got a fresh crossover right here on 1213. That's VantagePoint saying that trend is expected to go higher. I look at the neural index, and the neural index says, possibly, hold on. But last night at 6:30, VantagePoint confirmed we got a crossover with a neural index, a predicted high, a predicted low, saying that Peloton was expected to move quickly and expected to move up. And the reason I say expected to move quickly is because the predicted momentum indicators are all pointed up with a predicted high and a predicted low that are both higher than the previous day. I have 100% of my predictive indicators on Peloton saying bullishness for today. We got bullishness today. It closed at 1057. VantagePoint indicated it could go to 1053. Got within 4 cents of that prediction. Really nice move and still more bullishness ahead of it. Here is QRVO. Let's do it again. Let's zoom in and look at the recent forecast. Another fresh crossover right here on QRVO. My momentum indicators are moving higher, saying we could expect some bullishness in this stock today. QRVO closed up almost a percentage point today, and we can see that VantagePoint is indicating bullishness ahead of the announcement. And then American Express. American Express, let's see, we got bullishness on the crossover, the neural index, the predictive differences are all pushing higher. I got some major resistance here, guys. I want to just take a look at this right now. Yeah, look at this. So I just put on VantagePoint's verified support and resistance in this. And what we're seeing is that we've got a resistance zone right here, which looks like it's butting up against a 52-week high. Yep. That resistance zone is butting up against the 52-week high, which means there is a ton of bearish pressure on American Express. When we look at this, American Express has bearishness weighing on it, and you can see it. This candle failed off of that resistance. This candle, this one, this one, this one. Even the predicted high is right up there around that resistance level. So I'm not as bullish using this information based on what I'm seeing. We do have bullishness, but we're going to need bullish volume and we're going to need bullish momentum to push into that resistance level and through that 52-week high. So I'm not overly bullish American Express until after it gets above 307 for a couple of days. After 307.77, it breaks that 52-week high and pushes higher. That gives me a lot of bullishness, and the artificial intelligence is saying be on the lookout. This is a watch list for me, Tim. This is a watch list one, and you can see even the triple cross. Look, I put the triple cross on there to do some quick analysis. VantagePoint has been more bullish American Express since August. So again, a big bullish run that's encountering some volatility, encountering some bearish pressure from resistance, just like it did here before it took off, just like it did here before it took off, just like it did here before it took off. So you can see the AI is certainly more bullish than anything Amex. All right. Hopefully this was helpful. When is the next webinar? I missed most of this one. Bubba, don't worry. You can go watch the recording. If you subscribe to VantagePoint AI and you go to the tab that says videos in YouTube and you subscribe on the YouTube channel right there, hit the subscribe button right now if you're watching. And then you go to videos and you go to live. All of the lives we've ever done are right there so you can go and watch it back. Heck, you can speed it up, you can pause it, do whatever you want to do. But at the end of the day, the key here is that you can see what the AI is doing and how it's doing it, and hopefully that helps you from a trading standpoint. I do see a question about, does the software come with instructions? Not only does it come with instructions, scalping strategy, but it comes with 6 months of free training and support from our customer support team. You'll be assigned a coach that'll work with you one-on-one. You'll be assigned an instructor that'll give you more advanced training during that 6-week period. And it all comes with the artificial intelligence. But anyway, if you've got questions, our phone number is in the chat, or you can always go to VantagePointForecast.com. Fill that out. We'd be happy to answer your questions. Until then, I've enjoyed today's session. I think we covered everything that we wanted to do. At least I believe I did. If I didn't, if I missed something, I'm sure you guys will let me know. But for the VantagePoint family members, thank you for being part of the VantagePoint family. And as always, thank you for letting me give you the view from my vantage point. I hope everybody has a great day and good luck in the markets.